Question 15 is a critical thinking question where we're being asked which of the following can be drawn as a conclusion from the passage, which I'll now read. Despite advances in computer modelling and research on humans, we still understand very little about the human brain, and we're unable to treat many neurological conditions or injuries effectively because of this. Human brains work in very similar ways to primate brains, and it's possible to create lesions in primate brains to mimic the effects of certain human conditions. If we accept that it's ethical to test on primates rather than humans, such research could be done through understanding the effects of brain lesions. We may be able to develop treatments and therapies which could benefit humans. So before we look at the potential answers for conclusions from the passage, let's try and identify for ourselves what the conclusion seems to be. So we're told that despite advances, we don't understand many elements of the brain and can't treat many conditions, but because we work similarly to primates, by lesioning primates and understanding the effect of these lesions, we may be able to develop some treatments. So, now option A says the conclusion from the passage should be that experimentation on primates should be considered to develop treatments for brain disorders. Now this aptly summarises what we were talking about just now, where the similarity between humans and primates and the potential for research to be done to understand the effects of lesions could develop treatments for human brain conditions, which are mimicked by the lesion studies. So we can say this aptly summarises the argument in the passage. Option B says computer modelling will continue to support brain research. Well, given that this is only mentioned once in the first line, it can't be drawn as a conclusion from the passage. In fact, there's nothing in the passage to suggest that it will continue to be used to support brain research. Option C says that creating lesions may cure some brain disorders. Well, this is obviously wrong. In fact, we're told that lesions are created in the primate brain to mimic human diseases. So it's just an interim to develop the treatments to benefit humans. The lesions are simply created to help us understand their effect. Option D says that primate experimentation is unacceptable in most conditions. Well, the piece doesn't touch on the situation with most conditions. In fact, it only talks about one, namely the use in lesion studies to help us understand the effect on the brain, and it says that it may be acceptable. It doesn't make a value judgment either way, so we can ignore this. Option E says experimentation on primates will enable us to cure neurological conditions. Now, if you compare this to option A, which said that it's a means to develop treatments to brain disorders, that far closely reflects what's in the piece than E, which appears to be a bit of an extrapolation. The piece says that understanding the effects of lesions through these studies will allow us to potentially develop treatments to benefit humans. So we can say our answer isn't E, but it's A.